He ignored his dad for years, deleted every text, every call. But one day, a voicemail came. He almost deleted it. If he had, he would have lost the most important message of his life. The voicemail came in on a Tuesday morning that didn't feel special at all. Ethan Miller was stuck in traffic on I-405, the kind of traffic that made you question every life choice that led you to owning a car in Los Angeles. The sun was already too bright, bouncing off windshields like it had something to prove. He had one hand on the steering wheel, the other gripping a paper cup of gas station coffee that tasted like regret. His phone buzzed. Unknown caller. He ignored it. He always did. Sales calls, scams, people asking about extended warranties for cars that had been totaled years ago. The call went to voicemail. Ethan didn't listen to it until much later that night, after the day had chewed him up and spit him out in small, humiliating pieces. He sat alone in his apartment, one bedroom, beige walls, furniture bought because it was cheap, not because it felt like home. The TV played something he wasn't really watching. A microwave dinner cooled on the coffee table, half eaten. That's when he saw the notification. New voicemail. He sighed and pressed play. At first, all he heard was breathing. Soft, unsteady. Then a voice he hadn't heard in over 3 years. "Hey, it's me, Dad." Ethan froze. His chest tightened like someone had pulled a rope around his ribs. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me," the voice continued, strained and careful, like a man stepping across thin ice. "And I wouldn't blame you if you deleted this right away." The microwave beeped in the background of the recording. I don't know how to say this in a text. I never did. Figured I'd try this way." A pause, longer this time. "I heard you got the promotion. Your Aunt Linda told me. I'm proud of you, kid. I really am." Ethan swallowed hard. "I won't take much of your time," his father said. "I just wanted you to know. I think about you every day. And I'm sorry for a lot of things. For not being who you needed." The voice cracked. "If you ever feel like calling me back, I'll answer. Anytime. Even if it's 3 in the morning." Another pause. "I love you, Ethan." The voicemail ended. The room felt unbearably quiet. Ethan stared at his phone like it might explode. His first instinct was to delete it. He'd deleted every message from his father for years. Emails unread, texts unanswered, birthday cards returned unopened. It had been easier that way. Clean, simple, controlled. But his thumb didn't move. He locked the phone and set it face down on the table, like it was something dangerous. Ethan hadn't always hated his father. When he was a kid, his dad, Mark Miller, had been his hero. Mark worked construction, came home with dust on his boots and stories about skyscrapers he helped build. On weekends, he took Ethan fishing at Lake Arrowhead. Even though neither of them caught much, they laughed anyway. Mark taught him how to ride a bike, jogging behind him with one hand on the seat, shouting, "I got you, I got you," even when he'd already let go. But things change. They always do. When Ethan was 15, his mom died suddenly from an aneurysm. No warning, no goodbyes. One minute she was packing his lunch, the next she was gone. Grief didn't soften Mark. It hardened him. He started drinking. At first just on weekends, then every night, then whenever he could. The house grew quiet in the worst way. Conversations turned into arguments. Arguments turned into silence. Silence turned into distance. Ethan learned to make his own dinner, learned not to ask questions, learned that being invisible was safer. By the time he left for college, his relationship with his father felt like a thread stretched too thin. The final break came during his senior year. Mark had promised to come to his graduation. Promised. Ethan waited in his cap and gown, scanning the crowd. Parents waved, families cheered. Mark never showed. Later that night, Ethan got a text. "Sorry, got caught up. Proud of you." That was it. Ethan didn't reply. He moved to California 2 weeks later and didn't look back. The voicemail stayed on his phone. Days passed, then weeks. Sometimes Ethan would open his voicemail inbox and see it there. Dad, 1.37, like a question he wasn't ready to answer. He told himself he'd deal with it later. Work kept him busy. Long hours, tight deadlines, meetings where people talked in circles and called it strategy. At night, he scrolled through social media, watching other people's lives unfold. Weddings, babies, family dinners. Every now and then, his phone would buzz with a memory notification, but never from his dad. The voicemail became a strange kind of anchor, a reminder that something unfinished was still floating around inside him. He never listened to it again. He didn't delete it either. 3 months later, Ethan got another call. This one wasn't from an unknown number. It was from his Aunt Linda. He almost didn't answer, but something told him to pick up. "Ethan," she said, her voice tight, "it's your dad." His heart dropped. "He collapsed at work. A heart attack. He's in the hospital." Ethan stared at the wall in front of him. The office noise faded away. "I thought you should know," Linda added. "He keeps asking about you." After the call ended, Ethan sat there for a long time. The voicemail felt heavier in his pocket than it ever had before. That night, he booked a flight to Ohio. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. Ethan hadn't been back home in years. Everything felt smaller than he remembered. The hallways, the rooms, even the silence. His father lay in the hospital bed, thinner than Ethan expected. His hair was mostly gray now. Tubes and wires surrounded him like a reminder of how fragile things really were. Mark's eyes opened slowly. "Ethan?" he whispered. Ethan nodded. They stared at each other, two men separated by years of unsaid things. "I listened to your voicemail," Ethan said finally. Mark's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't think you would," he said. "I didn't delete it," Ethan replied. "I almost did, 100 times." "I'm glad you didn't," Mark said quietly. Silence stretched between them, not angry this time, just heavy. "I messed up, more than I'll ever be able to fix." Ethan clenched his jaw. "I needed you," he said, "and you weren't there." "I know, and I hate myself for it." They didn't fix everything that day, but they talked, really talked, about Ethan's mom, about grief, about mistakes, about how saying sorry doesn't erase the past, but can still matter. When Ethan left the hospital, his chest felt lighter and heavier at the same time. Mark survived the heart attack. Recovery was slow. Ethan stayed in Ohio longer than planned. He helped around the house, cooked meals, sat through awkward silences that slowly became conversations. They didn't pretend everything was okay. They didn't rush forgiveness. They just showed up. Before Ethan flew back to California, Mark handed him an old flip phone. "I don't use this anymore, but there's something on it I think you should keep." Ethan scrolled through the messages, saved drafts, hundreds of unsent texts, messages Mark had written and never sent. "Thinking about you today. I'm sorry. Hope you're doing okay." Years of words that never found their way out. Ethan felt tears burn his eyes. Back in California, life returned to its routine, but something had changed. The voice now was still there. He listened to it sometimes now, not because it hurt, but because it reminded him that people are more than their worst moments. 6 months later, another voicemail came in. This one was short. "Hey kid, just calling to say I love you. No pressure to call back, just wanted you to know." Ethan smiled, and this time he didn't hesitate. He called back. Years passed. Ethan got married, had a daughter, changed jobs, moved into a house that actually felt like home. Mark never became perfect, neither did Ethan, but they kept choosing each other. One night, long after Mark passed away peacefully in his sleep, Ethan sat alone in his living room. His phone buzzed with a notification.
voicemail storage almost full. He scrolled. There it was. Dad, 1.37, the voicemail he never deleted. He listened to it one last time, not with regret, not with anger, but with gratitude. Then he saved it to the cloud. Some things aren't meant to be erased. They're meant to remind us that love doesn't always show up on time, but when it does, it still counts.